Robert Francis Prevost is the new Pope elected by the Catholic Church. He will be taking the name Pope Leo the 14th. This is big news. This is big news. I was very interested this whole time as this was leading up to the buildup. I was excited about it. I'm happy for the Catholic Church. I'm happy for all Christians. And I'm very excited to see what he is going to do for the Catholic Church going forward. My name is Brandon Fogel. This is Evolution. Let's dive into this. And we are also going to talk about a sit down that Tucker Carlson had with Bret Weinstein. And it was very good. It was very good. They didn't delve into as many topics as I'd like. Bret Weinstein, he is very thoughtful in everything he says, but they didn't go across every possible nook and cranny of what you could cover in a sit down together with Tucker Carlson. Tucker steered the conversation and everything they went through, but we'll get into that in a second. I just wanted to say a few things about the new Pope. I don't know if you could say this is Peter the Roman. There was a little bit built up, and I did a video the other week talking about the whole prophecy about Saint Malachi saying Peter the Roman that's coming. Is that prophecy bunk? Because this guy's name is not Peter, and even the name he took on as the new Pope doesn't even have Peter in the name. But maybe it just goes with the position he has. I am not a Catholic, but I highly respect the Catholic Church, and honestly, I have wanted to become a Catholic at times in my life. I love everything about it. There's so much in there that just draws me to it, but there are things that I don't completely agree with, and it's tough. When you have a family and your family's not Catholic, it's tough to that's a complete shift and switch and all that. So I appreciate when people do, switch from one denomination to another or go into the Catholic Church. That's not just switching one denomination to another. That's completely a way of life change for your family. That's why I said I wish and I hope that this Pope will bring down all the lines in Christianity. True Christianity. Bring down all the barriers, because Jesus said, I pray that my followers will be one, just as the Father and Jesus are one. He prayed that for all the believers in Christ. And I don't know why we are 2,000 years and it seems like we are getting fractured more and more and more. You could say there's issues that we disagree on, but put aside what color carpet you want in a church. Why can't we have these discussions in-house? Why does it have to be Protestant, Orthodox, Catholic? Can there be a coming together? And I don't know if this Pope could do something like that. What your thoughts are on that? I would be very interested to hear. Is that a possibility? Is that even a good thing? To me, I think Jesus has one church. There's one invisible church in the world. And his people will always be his people, So why can't we come together? There's the visible and invisible church. And maybe they just got to grow up together, and that's just a part of the deal. But if this new Pope could do something like that, I would very much love that. But switching gears and talking about Tucker Carlson and Bret Weinstein and their sit down together, it was good. Like I said, they didn't go into everything, but Bret, he talks a lot more thoughtful, and they're not just debating, going back and forth. And he doesn't even seem like a person that debates. Tucker was more. He sends his zingers and sends things about, because Tucker stands on the side of there is a God, there is a creator. Bret stands on the side that we are an evolved species, and he does not rule out the possibility of the creator, but it makes it seem like you cannot know. And something that he did say in the sit down that popped out to me was his view on Jesus, the little bit that they talked about Jesus in the Gospels, he said, I really don't know too much about it. I'm not a biblical scholar, and so I don't know too much about it. For anybody that's out there, whatever you think of Jesus, he is the most well-known person in human history, so it would be a good idea to look into him and find out what this guy said and did and all that, you know? I mean, all the religions, whatever they are, you know, they all point to him. Even Islam, looking back and just regarding him as a prophet, all of them speak highly of him. So it would be a good idea to find out what this man did and said, because I know in Tucker and Bret, they went back and forth because Tucker seemed like there can be evolution in the whole design of God that can fit into the paradigm that we find ourselves in. God could have used evolution to bring all this about. And I mean, I'm still open to that. I'm still looking to that, but I have yet to find any good evidence, strong evidence for real Darwinism. I'm wanting to find out. I want to see it. I people tell me just keep reading, keep looking, and I am, and I'm open to that. But Bret, he goes into this long, like, he gives a long, lengthy output of what he believes, of how everything came about and how intricately everything is woven together, and there's design, and he almost fits in a religion that is just a part of the spot that we are in the evolution kind of time frame. But when he goes through it, he goes through it so precisely and lays everything out. Tucker just like, he's like, but there has to be intent for it all. You know, it comes down to whether there's intent or not. And he's like, you just made an incredible case for God, but you don't believe in him.
You're describing a system with a goal.
I am describing a system with a goal, not with intent. Yeah, the system has a goal, and
the goal is the intent, right? The intent is to achieve the goal.
Well, that is the sticking point. That
I mean, this doesn't make any sense.
No, it makes a lot of
It doesn't make any sense without it. Well, I don't want to use the phrase intelligent design, but like,
well, let's take a parallel example, and
okay,
we could trip over the parallel example if
I just think you've made an amazing case for God, and I didn't know if you thought of yourself as an evangelist. But
no,
you just convinced me.
I've made a very compelling case for a belief in God.
Well, but what's the other explanation?
Well, that's just the thing. Is the other explanation is that there are processes that function. Let's take two examples. Okay.
All right. Going through everything he went through, and he laid it out really clearly, articulately, and it made sense. Everything he said. But he never gave an explanation of why, like, say you throw out there being a creator, how did this actually happen? And like, why did this actually happen? And it just fundamentally does not make sense without God. No matter how much you talk about it, but he's very humble, and he says, I don't know. He's not on the atheist position, and he's kind of in this middle ground. He's not the atheist, and he's trying to speak on their behalf, but he's also trying to understand the theist position, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all when you really dive into it. And without there being a creator, we could talk about how things have, what we think happened in history, but even that is still faith. It's still faith. You're still taking it on someone's authority and what they've told you. You're still taking it on that. As opposed to, you just look outside, you know there's a God. You just look inside your own self, you know there's a God, because we have this moral where we know there's things that we should do that we don't do. We feel bad about things. And if you don't feel bad, even an atheist would probably say that you're a sociopath. So we all know that we have God's fingerprint written on our hearts. We know he's there. But him going through this whole diatribe of everything about God and everything about evolution and how this is here, he describes the how, but without intent and without the why, none of it makes sense. All of evolution points to a goal. There's becoming more and more, survival of the fittest. Even if that's true, it still seems like there's design. Someone wound up the watch and threw it out there, and that's kind of like the deist position. Whether you think they're a God, he's just really not involved. But I cannot at all understand how somebody could not think there's a God, or believe that there's a God, or know that there's a God. The biblical argument is we all do know there's a God, but we suppress it. We always know he's there, but we're constantly just putting up guards because we're living in a fallen world. We are constantly running from God. Whatever we're doing, we're running from him, and I'm still very open to learning about evolution and how this could have come about, but I still am not seeing strong evidence for it. And I'm very open to it. But Tucker's on the side that, like, he almost assumed that evolutionism is a thing, and Darwinism is a thing, but there's still God who kind of threw everything into place and made everything happen. I just wanted to quickly touch on also that they jumped onto AI and all that went into that. That was another very strong point of the sit down they had together, and whether AI will eventually acquire consciousness, and that AI is going to have consciousness and we're not going to be aware of it. Man, the more that I'm learning about the Nephilim and the giants of old and aliens, that they are a true possibility, and they're not just a demonic activity, but there might be something else out there. It just seems like so many things are happening, and we're like it feels like on the precipice of nuclear war happening with Pakistan and India. There's so many things that are just coalescing and escalating. I mean, I used to think Jesus could not be coming back for at least 100 more years or 1,000 more years, but I keep going back and forth. Like, is he? Is he about to come back? Because things are just getting crazy in so many different ways. And I mean, you go back to 1,000 years. I mean, they were just wondering if their corn's going to come up, if they were going to be able to grow some wheat to be able to survive. And now we got AI about to have consciousness. People, kings, dictators, presidents have the opportunity, have their hand over nuclear codes that could send off bombs into the air at any moment. And we got all this technology, and it's just so many wild things are happening. I can't even express, like, it's a crazy time to be alive. I don't know if it's a good time to be alive, but it's certainly a crazy one. All right. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share it with everyone. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great weekend.
I could see the cracks form in the paint, growing like a fire. What do I say? Can you see them?